Greetings, my good bitches. The name's Francis, Coke Francis. I'm an editor, Twitch streamer, drag artist, and I'm here because, no, I am not, in fact, going to be stopped by a handful of smooth-brained podcasters and influencers who don't even know how to properly redact a document, and neither should you. Let's just get right into it. You might not recognize the name Ben Garrison off the top of your head, but if you've existed in any online political space over the past 10 years, you've definitely seen his work. So Mr. Garrison was a graphic artist for a number of newspapers for several decades, before working as a freelance illustrator and photographer. But after the 2008 financial crisis, Ben and his wife Tina, who's also an artist, finally found their niche in libertarian slanted political cartoons. And they never really aligned themselves with any major political party. That is, until Ben fell down an all too familiar pipeline. A villain origin story resulting in his Turning Point USA into alt-right extremism, set against the backdrop of a little website called 4chan. So Ben would post his art on his website as well as libertarian message boards and forums. And he first achieved virality with this beautiful, subtle piece called The March of Tyranny. But poor Mr. Garrison, a middle-aged fellow who was unaware of the true depravities of the internet, would soon find a bastardized version of The March of Tyranny on none other than 4chan.com, where trolls had replaced the Eye of Providence with the Happy Merchant caricature, which is a horrifically anti-Semitic stereotype that had previously only seen the light of day during World War II or in Wizard Banks. The MAGA on MAGA violence continued over the years with more of these edits, leading Ben Garrison to be named, quote, the most trolled man in internet history, according to Milo Yiannopoulos. Now, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Ben tried his hardest to stop this merciless onslaught of bullying, from website disclaimers to seeking legal action directly against the trolls who were sullying his work. It became so widespread, in fact, that his name was mistakenly added to Anonymous's registry of KKK members. Ben described the efforts to stop the libel as, quote, trying to sweep the tide out with a broom. Now, you might be feeling some sympathy for Mr. Garrison. I know I did, but you know what they say. If you can't beat 'em, just double down and become the monster that the internet turned you into. The Gooner from Mars recently did a video on Ben Garrison that delves much farther into all of this lore. Ever since I ranked the cringiest Jon McNaughton paintings, I've received a lot of requests to do a video about this guy, which honestly makes sense, because Ben Garrison is essentially the Jon McNaughton of political cartoonists. A man with a decent mastery of his craft that's overshadowed by the amount of bigotry, white supremacy, and Trump-glazing that you would come to expect from MAGA's finest artistes. After unsuccessfully lashing out at the unwavering 4chan Nazis, 2015 was the start of a newfound career where he lashed out at pretty much everyone else, namely Democrats, people of color, feminists, activists, college students, moderate Republicans, and basically anybody who does not lick the boots of Lord God Emperor President Donald Jessica Trump. Anything you've heard MAGA bitch and moan about over the past decade, Ben Garrison has made a cartoon that echoes it. Between multiple bans and reinstatements on social media, his art regularly appearing on InfoWars, and a now dismissed lawsuit against the ADL for getting him uninvited from a White House social media summit, Ben has, of course, cemented himself as one of MAGA's greatest free speech warriors. So, naturally, me being me and all, I decided to rank his cringiest cartoons for your viewing enjoyment, with the help of today's sponsor, Rocket Money. Rocket Money gives you a bird's eye view of your finances in a single, easy-to-use app. By securely linking your bank accounts, Rocket Money automatically categorizes all your transactions so that you can see where your money is going at all times. Whether you're trying to cancel subscriptions you've forgotten about, or growing your savings, or simply just trying to get on top of your finances, Rocket Money is the best accountability when it comes to monitoring your spending habits. habits. You can create a customizable budget in seconds, and the app will provide you with personalized insights on how you can manage your money better. So you can only imagine my surprise when I received a notification for a $560 transaction. Thankfully, Rocket Money provides real-time alerts for suspiciously large transactions like this one, and I was able to nip that issue in the bud. Additionally, Rocket Money will notify you about upcoming charges or renewals to help you avoid overdrafts and late fees. It's one app with an entire dashboard to help monitor your overall financial health. So go to rocketmoney.com/queen to start your free premium trial. You can also scan the QR code that's right next to my very handsome face, or just click the link in the description below. And with that, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Now, like I mentioned earlier, Mr. Garrison delved into the world of political cartoons all the way back in the late aughts, and there are currently 665 pages? Ah, damn, so close. Maybe there will be 666 by the time this video is posted. And despite Ben's references to jokes and memes and events that are about a decade too late, I, on the other hand, like to stay relevant. So I handpicked the cringiest examples from the past 6 months, from mid-2025 to the Beer of Our Lord 2026, and includes works by both him and his wife Tina, which, by the way, it's a really good thing I looked up what her actual name is, because I had been reading her signatures as Tuna for like a minute now. First category is genuinely made me laugh. Reasons may vary. There were, in fact, a couple of these that made me laugh out loud. The reasons for that are to be determined. Next category is I wish Democrats were this cool. Because the topics that conservatives try to satirize are rarely based in reality, one of the funniest side effects of their attempts at it is accidentally making Democrats look way cooler and more chill than they actually are. They are not cool nor chill. Stop making them look like they are. Next category is pretty self-explanatory. I spent ages trying to wrap my head around these, and I guess my teeny tiny little leftist brain just couldn't comprehend their absolute brilliance, I guess. Next category is this is not the flex you think it is. It's getting harder and harder to tell if they genuinely do not see themselves as monsters, or they do see themselves that way and they actually pride themselves on it.
This is exactly what I voted for.
Our penultimate category is this conservative fanfic? Are these the kinds of fanfics you'd stumble upon in AO3? Or just your racist uncle's shower arguments after getting schooled by his liberal niece? You decide. And our final category is I need to pop a rat away ASAP. I get a lot of comments thanking me for suffering so that you guys don't have to, but that's honestly not how I feel about a majority of my work, because I genuinely enjoy doing this, and it's pretty much the only thing I know how to do. But call me Sir Mix-a-Lot, because I cannot lie. I do expose myself to a lot of radiation during the video making process, and as any of my other Fallout homies can tell you, there is only one way to cure prolonged radiation sickness. Except, Radaway isn't real, and this isn't actually radiation poisoning. It's usually just me seeing something that's so evil and or racist that I just, like, break down crying in the middle of my workday. These, thankfully, didn't make me do that, but they still did give me that same pit in my stomach. And with that, I bet you're as eager to get into these as I am. We're gonna kick this off with a nice, timely piece called Tim Waltz Wants Justice Out of Minnesota. Oh, brother. And he's in a van that says fraud, and he's got some unnamed stereotype in the back seat counting money, and he's just doing what ICE agents do all the time. Just minus the gun and shooting someone in the face 3 times after they comply and try to get out of your way. Tampon Tim announced he will not be running again, perhaps because he knows what's coming. Oh, that's right. Tampons are for girls, and Tim Waltz is a girl because he's weak, right? And that's why he won't run again. That is, if the feds discover he took protection money from Somali scamsters, he could be forced to resign or even end up up in prison. I mean, aside from the fact that, who the hell even cares? If that's the case, why is Trump running again? Anyway, at first I thought this was Kristi Noem getting hit by the car, but then I remembered that that would be way too based. I really wish Democrats were cool enough to do that, though. So here's Trump in a grocery store, which is already a scenario that would never happen. Of course, these white folks think you can just get whole tacos from the frozen food aisle, or maybe you can. I wouldn't know. I have a mom who gets racially profiled at every airport she goes to, and he's got a barrel of Venezuelan oil and some Danish cookies and the entire country of Greenland and his precious Diet Coke on the bottom shelf of the cart. Good, that means he'll forget to buy it. Now, if you're watching this video, chances are you're probably a really cool and decent person. And if you were looking at this cartoon with no context, you wouldn't think that it's portraying Mr. Trump in a particularly positive light. No? Au contraire. Socialism spreads like the plague. Here we go. Too many countries eagerly bite on the lure of free stuff. When people vote for socialism, freedom is quickly stripped away by permanent strongmen dictators. I was today years old when I found out that the US is a socialist country. Trump wants to reverse this trend. I'm sure that's what you'd think if you're the type of person who can't even locate Venezuela on a map. This is not the flex you think it is, sis. Next up, here's one from Mrs. Garrison, aka Tuna Toon. I'm just reading what it says, okay? Don't shoot the messenger on this one. I'm so glad it says Sweeney here in case we couldn't tell who this blonde woman with huge tits holding a pair of jeans is. And she's crying, and the left is forcing her to apologize over and over, like in the break room in Severance, and it says things that never happened. Yes, you are correct. This never happened. Sydney was asked if she denounced white supremacy. Her cold, dead eyes told us that she didn't care. We made fun of her for it, and as far as I know, she has not apologized. Democrats often complain about misinformation on the capital I internet and demand censorship for those with whom they disagree. You mean like when you got thousands of people fired because they didn't like your favorite podcaster? If this isn't conservative fanfic, I don't know what is. So this next one is called Thanksgiving with the Democrats. I bet they're super dumb and they're all alcoholics and they like drink a lot. He even included the Daily Wire's ancient joke about Elizabeth Warren not being Native American, even though she has literally acknowledged that and apologized for it like, I don't know, 10 years ago. But hey, go on, Miss Girl, milk those two jokes. Obama, why is Obama here? Obama presenting a chocolate library cake. Get it? It's chocolate because he's black. Get it? As you can see, all of the people of color have huge buck teeth. That's something you're gonna see a lot more of later, so strap in for that. Quick pin in that though, the key to doing a successful caricature is exaggerating a person's already existing features. But Benny doesn't realize that, and his caricatures are based entirely on his opinions of people, which is why Trump is always the glowing, sexy Adonis that he touches himself to every night, and every person of color in these cartoons is drawn intentionally, grotesquely, and racistly. But please don't kill me for this. Maybe it's just because I was starved for joy, but I genuinely laughed at Chuck Schumer being locked outside and looking in. Any and all bullying of Chuck Schumer is fine by me. Next up, we finally got a spotlight on the right's all-time favorite fanfic villain. Again, keep in mind, every cartoon we'll be looking at today is from the past 6 months, as of January 2026. See, Biden dropped out of the presidential race in the summer of 2024, but conservatives were not about to go down with their favorite enemies to lovers ship. Vivian Wilson and I ranked their ship as toxic/horrifying, but justified, and it gave birth to the incredible Trident fanfics that I read to my friends. So anyway, in the beer of our Lord 2026, as the right runs out of people to scapegoat now that they control all branches of government, they gotta pull some classics out of the casket, you know? And which better one for the holiday season than a COVID joke about vaccines? The one that was actually pushed out under Trump's orders and was like the only accidentally good thing that came out of his first term. But Joe Biden's holding it in this picture, which means it must be bad. I didn't realize Biden was still handing out free COVID vaccines a year after his presidency ended. And I didn't realize Trump thought so highly of all those military losers and suckers. But hey, that's what I get for all these years of lefty indoctrination where I could actually remember who the president was in 2020. Benny and Tuna might have remembered if they didn't treat their COVID with ivermectin and beet juice. Here's another Tim Waltz one. I'd love if he could loan me that time machine he used to pull this Somalian pirate joke out of 2009. And the flag says Somalia. And they of course have Ilhan Omar on the ship. Guys, let me tell you, they are obsessed with the idea of a Muslim woman getting into politics. Haha, that isn't God's way. Their Somali culture of piracy carried over to America, more specifically Minnesota, and it's time to put a stop to it. The Somalis aren't integrating, they are turning Minnesota into Minnesomalia.
Do you know how I feel every time we try to capture a boat? It's scared. I'm not just scared because I might get killed, but scared because if I don't get something out of it, my family and friends are going to die. I don't want to be a pirate. I don't see how anybody would.
Can someone please fill me in on the Somali Waltz fanfic that's pervading this man's work so often? Because that's a new one for me. There's a lot of other stuff in Minnesota that I was paying attention to. Maybe you should too, Ben. Ooh, here's a fun one. This is the face of the new Democratic Party, as if they ever liked the old one to begin with. Can we please talk about how f***ing hard this picture goes? We got the old Dem Party just dead and buried over here. We've got this badass anti-ice donkey with a blue mohawk and a nose ring, with guns for legs like Rose McGowan in Planet Terror. I thought guns were good to have and our right to own them was in the Constitution. No? Does it upset you that the Second Amendment also applies to the left and people are showing up to protests armed? Are you upset that ICE is avoiding these protests because they're gigantic whiny piss baby scaredy cats who do not know how to handle an armed populace? And that's why they're snatching moms and grandmas and children off the streets rather than actually going after the gangs and violent criminals? And ICE is given guns because a third of them cannot pass a basic fitness test? If this was actually the new Democratic Party, we would be a lot further along by now. Boy, is there a lot to unpack with this next one. For those of you lovely folks who are outside the US and need a Cliff Notes summary of what the hell is going on here. During his campaign, Trump ran on releasing the Epstein files, which he is very obviously in. He appointed a bunch of podcasters and influencers to bend to his every whim, and they further promised to release the files that he is in. They even said that they had the files on their desks and were ready to roll them out. Trump then says,
"Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?"
And his constituency is actually surprised. Pam Bondi is literally just doing what Trump tells her to do. But to these people, it's her fault. It's gotta be her fault. Then Congress passes a law demanding the release of the files by a certain date. And only about 1% of them are available, and it's just hundreds and hundreds of pages of black squares. Now, quick flashback to about a year ago when a South African billionaire decided that he wanted to play secret agent, and the government gave him his own made-up department named after a 12-year-old meme. Doge then canceled any and all subscriptions that did not involve stealing Social Security from millions of Americans, including their Adobe sweet subscription. So fast forward to today, where the government no longer had the software needed to properly redact the files. And because this kakistocracy of podcasters and influencers is too f***ing stupid to know that using black highlighter in Google Docs is not the same as redacting a document, all of the files are available. A bunch of kids on TikTok figured it out in like 2 seconds, and there was Trump's name everywhere, all over them, in every possible way. MAGA's cognitive dissonance is so exacerbated that even when his name, his image, his likeness, accusations, written evidence, photographic evidence, and confirmed testimonials right there in front of them, it's still not enough for them. So this is what we're working with here. And this is not the flex you think it is, Benny. Especially when we look at the next one. Jesus f***ing yellow penguins. How could the Democrats possibly focus on the president being a pedophile and sending pedophile birthday cards to another pedophile? There's black people afoot. This one is also not the flex he thinks it is, but it goes so much farther beyond that. This is a reference to the murder of a white woman in North Carolina by an extremely schizophrenic black man. And he was actually charged with first-degree murder, and his case is still ongoing. But that doesn't fit the conservative narrative. So they politicized an absolute tragedy and blamed the woke left for not reporting on it enough, even though they're the ones who control the media now too. Sure, another white woman was just murdered because a federal agent shot her in the face 3 times and then was painted as a domestic terrorist, blah blah blah. Stop yapping, lefties. That's pebbles compared to a white woman who was murdered by a mentally ill black person who's actually facing murder charges. I mean, get your priorities straight, guys. And I really need a Radaway right now. So, this next one, by both Benny and Tuna. I know it's another men in dresses, blue hair and pronouns, black people are a scary thing, but I don't get the rest of it. It's a bad egg and it says cultural Marxism. Am I missing something here? I don't fully get it. Maybe Ben can explain this one. Cultural Marxism helped destroy black families. 100 years ago, black families were mostly intact and prospering. Yeah, in their designated seating sections that you want to bring back so badly. It's fine that black people flourish and form a middle class as long as they do it far away from you, right? Because when they get righteously angry, that scares you. My poor precious baby girl. You shouldn't be made to feel scared when you say things like the mothers raise their children to be feral, entitled victims. Then there are the far left women who claim they don't need men. You're not making an awfully strong case for yourself, man. All this explanation did is confirm that you are a racist and absolutely nothing to explain what the hell we're looking at here. I laughed super hard at this one, but only because when I first saw it, I genuinely thought that was JD Vance in the high chair. This metaphor would make a lot more sense for him than Zelensky, who apparently this is supposed to be. What a big baby. How can he possibly turn down a peace deal that's represented by a giant bowl of dripping hog slop? This is not the flex you think it is. Here's another chapter from the conservative Tales of the Crypt. It's a house of horrors full of things they pretend they don't want. Free housing? Oh God. Universal paid vacations? Oh no. Forced lower rent? No, please. Protect the homeless? Oh God, we are in hell. $30 minimum wage? How on earth will that allow me to feed my kids? Tax the rich? Where will they get all their money from then? Free childcare? What is this, Nazi Germany? Trump-proof NYC? But that's where the Young Republicans Gala is held. Free bus service? Just hand me a rope at this point. Granted, Mamdani is already working on implementing these things in New York City. It's almost as if the Democratic Party could have done stuff like this all along if they had actually wanted to. Here's a fun one. Another swamp analogy where Trump is just that Garfield meme, but this time it's being drained by Charlie Chirk, back from the grave. Such an over-the-top production going on here, I half expected Erica to show up. I'm guessing he posted this gem before Disney lost $10 billion and reinstated Jimmy Kimmel. The worst part of that ordeal, by far, was that it forced me to actually have to support Jimmy Kimmel. Bill Maher even made a urinating Russian joke long after it was proven to be a vicious smear. Okay, I have just a couple questions about this one. Firstly, how the hell are you gonna be bothered by anything Bill Maher says? Secondly, what does that joke have to do with Mr. Kirk? Was Charlie also implicated in the Trump urinating Russian allegation? If not, which I don't think he was, why even bring it up? Unless you're just off on another fanfic adventure, that is. Next up, oh good Christ, it's, another caricature, this time with Jasmine Crockett. And this white man has dubbed her the Queen of the Ghetto Frontier. That's rich coming from someone who's afraid of cities. And she has a race card. Get it? It couldn't possibly be that she just got the most votes in an election. No one could ever possibly vote for a black person unless they were threatened to, am I right? Vote for me, or you're racist. I'm gonna end it all. Her Texas twang is convincing. Her ghetto roots are unmistakable. But wait a Texas minute. She was not raised in a ghetto. Her parents were successful and well off. Okay, so, where's the ghetto descriptor coming from then, Ben? Why is she the queen of the ghetto frontier, Benny? Is it breaking your smooth brain that a feral entitled victim might actually hold a position of political power and might treat you the way you've treated black people your entire life? Just to be abundantly clear, if you replace Jasmine Crockett with any black Republican, even Clarence Thomas or Herschel Walker, this would still be racist. I got rads through the roof right now. I feel like I should have made a separate category just called No You. That's the only possible explanation I have for this next one, where Tina apparently thinks that we spend trillions on education. Dumb them down, get their vote. I mean, I have heard that before, but it was from
I love the poorly educated.
Democrat-run cities are failing when it comes to education. Teachers can't be fired due to teachers' unions. Ah yes, those pesky teachers' unions are the reason kids are illiterate. The curriculum has been dumbed down in order to allow students to pass. You mean like in Oklahoma where saying 2 + 2 = Jesus earns you a grifting career? But Tuna is right. Illiteracy is a very serious issue right now. And what better way to solve that issue than by completely eliminating the one government department that would have, you know, I'd finish answering, but my Democrat-run city seems to have failed me. I understand this next one is probably the one time Ben would not have wanted us to chuckle at his cheeky little cartoons. That said, I snorted. Glad he lowered the free speech flag in honor of all the people who lost their livelihoods because a bunch of right-wing snowflakes brought back cancel culture bigger and badder than ever. Man, Schumer's really been catching strays today, and I'm here for it. We've got all of Benny's favorite fanfic villains taking off in a plane piloted by an American hero. Now, normally I'd be annoyed by the airplane reference, considering that movie is one of the few truly good things that straight people have contributed to society. But Ben taking inspo from David Zucker isn't entirely surprising when his cartoons have all the biting wit and social commentary you saw on display in the hit comedy An American Carol. If the Democratic Party actually left Chuck Schumer behind, we might be able to finally graduate from strongly worded letters to fighting fascism directly. I really wish Democrats actually cared about doing that. Continuing with his obsession with Somalia, here's another scary black face that haunts Benny's dreams at night. Is this a reference to the Minnesota daycare thing that right-wing YouTuber caused a ruckus over? The big nothing burger that's already been proven to not be a big deal, but James Donald Vance is heavily investigating because he's cosplaying as the next president. But Ben Garrison, if there's an opportunity to draw a grotesque stereotype, by God, he will cling to it like wreckage in a storm. Over here it says Quality Leering Center in reference to a children's daycare center that was misspelled, that got shut down recently, because get it? Immigrants can't spell, therefore they shouldn't be here. If a lack of English proficiency is the real issue here, maybe take it up with Oklahoma's Forehead McGee with the intellectual capacity of a crustacean. Is this actually confusing, or is my teeny tiny little leftist brain just unable of understanding such sharp satire? Here's one that gave me stage 4 cancer that I'm patiently waiting to pass on to Kristi Noem. I feel like Ben Garrison lives his life in intervals of edging until he gets to draw another racist stereotype. I know, horrifying that a white governor embraces non-white citizens. There was a term racists had for white people who fought racism back in the day, and certain consequences for them too. They're still in place today, they've just replaced that term with f***ing bitch, and replaced nooses with cowards with guns who can't even do a single push-up.
Oh my God! Oh jeez! Oh my God! Oh jeez! Somebody help me!
But here's the thing, Ben can't stop at his already racist depictions of minorities. He just has to take it a step further. Give it that little, That's the French word for it, right? Maracas on their own isn't enough to get the point across. You have to also add the little chicka chicka that makes conservatives' ears cry. You can't just give a black person a gun. You have to also give him a bag of drugs.
Let's sprinkle some crack on him and get out of here.
And a hoodie that literally says crime on it. I need a rat away as soon as humanly possible. This next one, I'm telling my kids this was ex machina. Again, Biden dropped out of the race a year and a half before this cartoon was released. But the conservative fanfic machine is not about to lose their best villain. Joe Biden is the Goro Akechi of the conservative enemies to lovers genre. And he's sleeping. Get it? He's somehow still in the Oval Office despite Trump having been the president for over a year now. But the Biden bot got loose and he's signing executive orders left and right like there's no tomorrow. What is a Donald Jessica Trump to do? Stop the executive order bot at all costs. Because, his executive orders are fine. It's only bad when other people do it, duh. An unpopular Joe Biden received 15 million more votes than the popular Barack Obama? Not likely. And speaking of Obama, he was not even qualified to be president. Holy shit, you guys are still going on about that? You're like 15 years too late with that reference. They've really run out of characters to spin stories ever since they gained control of all 3 branches of government, huh? So the devastating thing about this next one is that it was actually pretty wholesome until I read the description. This is a reference to Rob Reiner's character in All in the Family, and a classic scene where he sat in Archie Bunker's chair, and Archie did not take that well. But according to the description, things are different in heaven. I thought that was sweet. Here's what the description also stated. Like everyone else, we at Gura Graphics were shocked and dismayed when we heard Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were murdered. To be sure, Reiner had Trump derangement syndrome. He called Trump Hitler and Trump supporters Nazi racists. We are neither Nazis nor racists, but we also realize many on the left are emotional about their politics, so we take such insults with a grain of salt. We know how viciously Reiner went after Trump, which contributed to an atmosphere of violence directed at our president. Trump did not hold back with his post about Reiner on Truth Social. We think Trump can say what he wants. He was almost almost assassinated by the left. I didn't realize an assassination attempt was an excuse to shit on Rob Reiner after he was, you know, actually murdered. But I get it, Ben. Daddy says what daddy wants. Can't wait to see how people politicize your death. This next one, I mean, I knew Trump was taking the Indiana Jones Boulder approach to his second term, but what does that have to do with climate change exactly? Harrison Ford needs to reissue his movies, retitled Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Last Election, The Temple of Dumb, The Lost Crusade, The Smooth-Brained Skull, The Dial of Democrats. Alright, I'll bite. What does this have to do with anything? Harrison has swallowed the climate change scam hook, line, and bullwhip, and naturally he blames it on Trump. He said Trump didn't like windmills because they are not gold-plated.
Trump supporters are like, liberals are so sensitive, and then you make one joke about Trump and they're like,
Shut the f*** up! Do not talk about my daddy like that! I'm emotionally fragile!
Check out Ronan Hirschberg. He is one of my favorite comics working currently. He's a lot more entertaining than whatever the hell this fanfic is. Listen, man, if you're happy that your sorta hard-earned tax dollars are going towards some stupid ballroom that you could only ever dream of being of, then more power to you, diva. You do say that you, quote, fight harder for you than your tax dollars at work. Are they also making the ballroom a casino? Or is this just another little trigger the libs power fantasy that distracts you from the fact that we own literally nothing? He would never turn the White House ballroom into a casino. Casinos actually help stimulate the economy. Am I dumb? Is Hillary still a part of Congress? I thought she was just hibernating between each election until there was a new unpopular candidate that she could give her sage advice on winning to. Either way, really weird flex here, dude. Can I be real with y'all? Please don't hate me for this, but I kinda like this one. And that's because I am a huge Batman fan and I actually have knowledge of the source material. So, Ben, if you are watching this, hear me out. Superheroes are only as good as their villains, which is one of the many reasons why Batman is such a great superhero. Now, this could be interpreted in a number of ways here, in that much of Trump's success lies in the libs he supposedly triggers, or simply that the current Republican Party exists because of the failures of the current Democratic Party. We have Trump as Batman, of course, certainly not accurate for comics lore, but if you're comparing him to the Batman of Christopher Nolan movies, then yes, it makes sense to depict him as a hoarse-voiced billionaire who beats the shit out of people. We have J.D. Vance here as Robin, the boy blunder. Hey, pay attention, Ben. This is very important lore here. Robin gets called that all the time. We have Gavin Newsom here as the Joker, which, as a Californian, I'm very offended by for two reasons. One, his actual title is the Woker, and we Californians gave him that title. And two, the actual Joker would never simp for neoliberal corpo scum. If anything, Mom Donnie should be the Joker, because then you could reference the iconic scene at the end of Killing Joke where Batman and the Joker actually share a laugh together. We've got Jerry Nadler as the Penguin, and listen, guys, visually the shoe fits. I think Kevin Smith from Loud Majority might be a better fit considering his Nazi slapping record, but this is still acceptable. We've got AOC as Catwoman. Now that is high praise, okay? Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman fundamentally changed my hormonal structure when I was 9 years old. If Biden is Mr. Freeze, does that mean that Jill is Nora Freeze? Because if we're following the canon, which I assume you would, Ben, you take pride in your work, at one point Nora is able to raise the dead, which would explain that very weird debate back in 2024. Not totally sure if I buy Adam Schiff as the Riddler. I don't know. I just, I don't know if I see him as a good fit for that role. But you know what? Honestly, solid fanfic up until that point. This next one, I don't have a whole lot to say. It's just another Charlie Kirk leading the way piece. But I genuinely laughed out loud at Karl Marx over here being like, honestly, I don't think Karl Marx would have given two solitary fucks about Charlie Kirk, but it is pretty funny that Benny thinks he would. Next up, oh boy, here's an assault on my eyeballs I could have gone the rest of my life without. Here he is, putting the lid on new wars after kidnapping the president of Venezuela and threatening to invade basically the North Pole. Here he is when he cosplayed as a McDonald's employee. And here he is barbecuing Democrats because they're the party of hatred and violence, right? Joe Biden wanted Trump in jail. Instead, he was elected for another term. Trump learned a lot from his first term. Ben went to the Samantha Fulnecky's School for Sentence Structure, apparently. It's time to tone down the objections and let him fulfill his promises to the voters. If the complainers can't stand the heat, they should get out of his kitchen. And here's Daddy hoisting the only thing more appetizing than that bowl of gruel he was trying to force feed Zelensky, sorry. Genuinely, I thought this fume that Elon is gagging on was from Trump's armpits. That placement was a choice. No part of this is the flex that you think it is. Here's a Washington racial slurs reference that's about 10 years too late. The Washington R-Skins changed their name to the Washington Commanders, and the Cleveland Indians changed theirs to the Cleveland Guardians. A great many fans did not want their cherished mascot's memory hold. Which fans? You? Can you even name a single team member? A great majority of real Indians want the return of the original names. No, I think they want people like you and me to return to Europe. They know the teams were honoring Indians, not denigrating them. And what better way to honor Native Americans than with a BioShock Infinite portrayal of them? Also, and I can't believe I forgot to bring this up earlier, what the f does Trump have to do with the Washington racial slurs? Oh, wait. Scott Turner. So, I don't have to explain how absolutely vile this one is, but in his defense, it did make me think. It made me wonder what it must be like to be this cruel, to be this consumed by hatred towards a group of people who have done absolutely nothing to you. To be so blindly hateful that you will absorb anything the media spoon feeds you as long as it fits your miserable narrative. No wonder you guys were mad about your liberal friends and family cutting you off after the last election. We're having a great time over here. You're sad that you can no longer be included in our joy and happiness, so rather than going to therapy or just simply embracing people who are a little bit different from you, you do shit like this. Man, what a sad existence that must be. Couldn't be me. Oh, so you're triggered? No. Oh, so you're offended? No. I'm not triggered or offended. I'm just sad, especially for you, Ben. I don't have any jokes for this one. It's actually so vile that it's forced my roasting comedy brain to cross a certain threshold where all I can feel is nothing but feeling sorry for you. I just hope that one day you can repent in Jesus' name. For the love of God, please let this be the last Biden fanfic we see today. We've got another Hunter Biden crackhead joke that's only 6 years too late this time. Progress, progress. Hunter Biden flashed his fake bright white teeth and delivered an F-bomb-laden tirade against Democrat Party elites during a podcast interview with Andrew Callahan. Oh shit! All gas, no brakes, Andrew Callahan? I have a few questions. Are F-bombs off limits now or not? Because your daddy just said it to a Ford employee and flipped him off after he was called, you know, exactly what he is. And what's wrong with a tirade against Democrat Party elites? Would that not earn you a couple brownie points in your book? Similar to the New York Young Republicans gala that I just covered. This is just another example of how your brains are so broken that you no longer can tell who your enemies are and who aren't. This is kind of on me. I should suspend my disbelief a little bit more when reading your fanfics. Oh, I get it. It's a Young Frankenstein reference. And they're reanimating Karl Marx in this cartoon that I swear you ripped off from The Simpsons. Can you even name a single goddamn thing that Karl Marx has ever said? without looking it up. Marx probably would have been pro-Palestine, though. He was pretty big on people being entitled to own shit that belongs to them. He's not actually alive, though, so we can't ask him. But Mel Brooks is still alive, and if we told him about this here cartoon, he would probably craft a response to it so savage that it would put this video to shame several times over. Coming up on our last few entries, thank God, here is an absolutely hilarious depiction of exactly what he voted for, which was for this bottle of expired CoverGirl foundation to open her own version of Auschwitz surrounded by alligators. The other day, I said that I hope Kristi Noem gets a permanent yeast infection, and a few people told me that I was misogynistic for saying that, so I would like to retract that statement by instead saying I hope she gets bacterial vaginitis, cervical cancer, and has crabs running in and out of her until a transgender immigrant buries her. That any better? Now that that's out of the way, once again, Benny just couldn't stop at his sick sociopathic fantasies of inflicting pain and suffering onto people who have done absolutely nothing to him, or the glazing of insurrection Barbies who would not care if he lived or died. Throw a gold tooth in there. Why not? While you're at it, give him a face tattoo that says MS-13. Gang members, parents trying to feed their children, innocent children who are abducted from their own schools. Who cares, right? All that matters to Ben and friends is that they're brown, and that's more than enough info that they need to throw them in a concentration camp surrounded by flesh-eating alligators. Spending hours analyzing Ben Garrison cartoons almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter. My god, fetch me my melon baller. Where do I even start with this one? We've got the woker here sitting at a vanity for girls, get it? Cause girls are weak and stupid. We've got a highly rare Ben W with the Peter Thiel Palantir ball. I swear to god, the left and right could have so much in common if we just ignored this entirely manufactured culture war that has convinced poor people to simp for billionaires. I'm not 100 years old, so I don't know what this Candace Candy thing is a reference to. I see he once again used his highly coveted time machine to pull this brown people crashing big rigs joke out of 2008. Did he learn how to spell eyelashes at the Quality Leering Center he was being so smarmy about earlier? Welp, if there's one thing that Mr. Garrison does succeed at, it's pissing people off, myself included. So, if that was the goal, congrats to her. Love that for her. Maybe I'd be this hateful too if my work was defaced on 4chan for years. Though I don't think that would turn me into a racist lunatic. That was simply inside of Ben for all these years, and modern times just allowed it to flourish. It's the same way how America isn't like this because Trump is the president. Trump is the president because America is like this. Now, that being said, I hope you're all doing okay, no matter where you are in the world. I hope you are taking care of yourselves and taking care of the people in your lives. If you're watching this, that means you're still here, and that makes me very happy. And so do the winning comments from the last video. Rainbow Rave says, I don't understand how this man can be 5'7" and honestly think he has Chad opinions, considering he can't even get me the cereal off the top shelf. XXX Cypher says, Riley Gaines is a mediocre swimmer, but a first-class Buzz Lightyear impersonator. Morby Essay says, you too could be featured in the next video. Leave a comment below. I will pick my favorite ones and give you a shout out next time. But if you would like to guarantee your name be featured at the end of every video, please consider joining my Patreon. If you join any of the membership tiers that are conveniently named after Fallout protagonists, your name will be mentioned at the end of every video. You might also get other cool stuff like access to my Discord, behind the scenes content on how I make my wigs, ad-free and uncensored versions of my videos. So if If you love my content and my drag, you can support this channel directly by clicking the link to my Patreon in the description box. If you would like to see me simp for my favorite game characters and get visibly frustrated in real time, please follow me on Twitch. And if you would like to see even more of my clown mug elsewhere, please consider following me on Instagram or Blue Sky. My handle for all of the above is @QueenCokeFrancis. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't done so already, please assert dominance over your local ICE agent, first by reminding them how utterly weak and pathetic they are, and by going ahead and unzipping your pants and dick slapping those like and subscribe buttons as hard as you can. Thank you again to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video, and thank you to all my patrons and subscribers who keep this channel going. And, of course, as always, until next time, Rower means I love you and dinosaur.